Hi, and welcome to day 24 in our Route 66 journey through the Bible. The nation of Israel, up to this point in the story of Exodus, they're out of Egypt. God delivered them in a miraculous way, and we're going to see how God continues to take care of them and what He does for them in spite of themselves. And isn't that what God does for us? In spite of us, God takes care of us. So we're going to read Exodus chapter 16 through 19 today. So let me explain to you some of the things that we're reading, just give a little bit of a summary, maybe some insight. Israelites begin their journey into the wilderness. Now, God said that He was going to take them into the wilderness. And they went into the wilderness, and the first thing they do, well, when they got out, they sang the praises in chapter 15, but in chapter 16, they start complaining. They're complaining because they don't have any food. Now, let's be honest, if it were probably you and me, we'd be complaining too. How many times do we complain when we're hungry? They were hungry, and God provided them manna, which is an interesting, don't really know what it is. It appeared on the ground, and they use it for cooking, so they had some bread-like substance, and then He also gave them quail for meat. So God gave them. He also supplied them water out of a rock, a miraculous way when they were thirsty. So God took care of them. They did face a group of people called the Amalekites. Now, the nation of Israel had been in slavery. They were not soldiers. They were not military. They hadn't been trained for that. But God took care of them and gave them victory in that. Eventually, they reached a mountain called Mount Sinai, where God would give them the 10 Commandments. We find out in Exodus chapter 20. But for now, God is going to prepare them for receiving His laws and establishing a covenant with them. So there's a little bit of preparation in Exodus chapter 19. So some lessons from today's reading, some things like this. The first one I think is important for me. God provides for our needs. God doesn't always give us what we want, but He does give us what we need. He gave them food and water, showing that He cared for them and He met their needs, and God will take care of us. We may not have a whole lot of surplus, but you know what? God's pretty good to us, and so He takes care of our needs. A second one is we can trust in God's faithfulness. Despite their complaints, God remained faithful to them. God is going to keep His word even if we complain about what's going on. So God always is faithful. Great is His faithfulness. Another lesson is that God gives us strength for the battles that we have to face. Even when we're really not ready for it, God gives us that. And God gave them the victory over the Amalekites. That shows that God will take care of us, and God will give us the power to conquer anything that's in our way as long as we give it to Him. And I think another lesson is in that last chapter. We're reading 4 chapters today, so it's a little bit longer as far as chapters. But preparation for meeting with God, preparation for God's guidance. God began to prepare the Israelites to meet with Him and to receive the 10 Commandments, the law and the covenant and everything. And I think it's important for us to prepare for times when we know that we're going to be with God. I think it's good on Saturday night to spend time in God's Word and think about what we're going to be doing the next day for church. So instead of just hitting it when it hits us, is to prepare ourselves for our time with God. That's what reading the Bible does. That's what prayer time does, is it prepares us for our time with God. So I hope that you'll enjoy today's reading as we get into tomorrow, the 10 Commandments. But for today, you're going to be reading a lot about how God took care of them in their